The limit is -1.
You know, I calculated it with the multiplication sign instead of the minus sign in there. The answer is -1.
The limit never approaches anything. The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
Our new state champ.
It's pretty correct. I'm pretty sure though she wouldn't do that sort of analysis while thinking of Aaron's and his haircut.
The way you come to the conclusion that it does not exist, you'd have to do some calculations or draw a graph. And I don't know if the graph of log of 1 minus x minus sine x over 1 minus cos squared, I think it was, that's not something you can picture in your head very easily. So to come up with it does not exist,
You need
it was a
paper
guess.
and pen.
Yeah, you do. And it was a guess. Mind you, it was a poor question because if you're going to guess something, you may as well guess that it doesn't exist because a lot of limits don't exist. So, fair call.